Hi guys, today is February 19, 2016. It's been 4 months since I made my last video. It's been 4 months and, no, 3 years and 4 months since I started tea. It's been 3 years and 1 month since I had my first chest surgery. And just kind of bring you up to date. Let's see, mark things off. Oh, let's start out with the chest. Like I said, get it over with. Okay. It looks good. It's still not comfortable. There's still a little, the graft they put here, it's still there. So I got a double here. This one looks really good. So, you have this under here, and this are still showing for the most part, but I feel good with it otherwise. It looks good, it feels good. So, see, anywho, that's that. And I'm knocking things off my desk. I think I'm getting blinder as I get older. Don't we all? The memory. People say, you lose your memory. Memory gets worse as you get older. And yeah, it's true, but it doesn't have to mean that I'm happy about it. So, let's see. The voice has definitely gotten deeper. I notice it, and I'm able to now sing down in the deeper register, the deeper baritone, easily, be able to hit the low notes. I can still go up into some of the alto, and I'm working on stretching it. And I got a runny nose. So that feels good. The hair, there's the other thing that trans guys we bemoan. It's headed south. It used to be here, and if my hair got even the least bit of long, it was in my eyebrows. So I used to tell him, don't leave it too long. So this is here, and it's pretty thin. I let it grow here a while back. I went a couple months at least. And my barber wanted to do a flat top again, which I like. But I says, you sure there's enough up there now? And he says, oh yeah, there's plenty. So you can kind of see it. But the thing is, this is 2.5 weeks since I got it cut. You can. When I first got it done, I was just in shock. I felt scalped. And I thought, I'm not going to let him do that again. And also my chops, I had them just down to here before, and now I've gone back down to here. There's an actor on Pirates of the Caribbean. He's kind of like the first mate to Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp. And he wears his down to here. No mustache, just down to here, and I really like it. But he's really got his full, so that's kind of what I'm going for. Let's see, what else? Oh, with the chops, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the hair dog trimmer things. That's what I used before I left separated mood, but Bill got those, so I don't have a pair, and I'm going to have to get a pair because I'd rather do them myself. One thing you notice when you've moved and left and separated is there's things that maybe you wanted to take, but he wanted them, so you didn't take them. Or there's things that you probably should have taken, but you didn't think you had enough room. So little by little over the year, there's things that I've gone, I'm missing something, I don't have it. I've got a neighbor, Richard, he's kind of my buddy. and he has stuff, so I go over there and borrow things. And so that's that. What else? Surgery. And it's been a year. February 12th was a year since I moved out and left. And the house still doesn't feel like home. There's too much tied up in what I did, the designing and building and landscaping my home. And that really, I can't let go of that. I know there's a lot of things I need to let go of and resolve, and I know that, and I'm not there yet. So little by little, the place is starting to feel my home, but I'm still in grief over losing the home. I'm still in grief over my little pussycat, that she's been gone now over a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in June. And as you know, I tried to adopt, and the adoptions all failed for one reason or the other. And I find myself every now and then really tempted to try it again, but I think, oh, you never know what's going to happen. I literally don't have a place for a litter box that's not out in the middle of the living room. So there's times I really, really would love to have a little kitty here with me that's waiting for me when I get home, that snuggles up with me, that looks in my eyes and just adores me, and I adore it. And that's another thing I'm having to try and resolve. I am down at a low income now that they have moved me down into Medicaid, which in California it's called Medi-Cal. So that means my income is, I'm 125% under the poverty line. It just means the poverty line is 15 something a year, and mine is 13 something. So the good news is now I will be getting all of my insurance free, my insurance and my medical free. My dentist, I need to find, luckily with the new Medicaid, and they call it Apple Health here in Washington, I can still use my own doctor, thank goodness. But there's a couple other doctors that I need to see, and I had to cancel with them because they don't do Medicaid. So, and my dentist doesn't accept Medicaid. So I'm seriously considering finding another dentist, because that's just a huge amount of money. So I want to get that. My chiropractor, he's already given me a reduced rate. So I'm going to stay with him because I really like him. I submitted to PUD, which is our electric company. It's the Public Utility District. It's electricity. And I applied to them for a senior discount, low income discount. And that will help a lot, because the electric bill is one of my biggest bills. When I first got my first winter bill, and it went from in the summer to 45 up to 145, I freaked out and I dropped my heat. That was the one thing that I knew that I could control, so I decreased my heat. I was still cold. So the next month the bill was even higher. I decreased it again. Next month, higher, decreased again. So I'm curious to see what it is this month. I've got the heat at between 55 and 60 maximum. Try to stay warm. It's starting to warm up a bit. We're starting to move into spring, so it's actually outside starting to warm up a bit. So I'm looking forward to that. I tried to apply for food stamps, but I have too much money. So it's like, yeah, sure I do. And I've got my criticisms about that, people that do have food stamps, and I won't go into that. Anyway, 1 year move. I'm still trying to build up my business. I did pick up a new customer. It's my next door neighbor, and their place needed a lot of work, and so I'm getting it up to speed, and then I'll maintain it because they're both 91 and 92, and they're going to have to move. They're going to have to leave, and their daughter is going to take it, and probably going to rent it out, and so they don't want to leave her with the problem of the gardening. And then I had another customer that I picked up more work on her yard. The man who was doing her mowing quit. There again, 90 years old. It was a friend, neighbor was doing it, and so I lost all of my gardening equipment, the motorized stuff, when I left my home, and then when our house sold, Bill sold all of it. He quit the business. So I have no power mowers, but what I have is a little push reel mower that I use in my backyard. That's all I needed. That way I didn't have to mess with gasoline and oil and all of the mechanical parts that go with that. So I'm going to be mowing her yard now. So that's a little bit there. And I also, I've really been pushing going to real estate agencies. There's a community here called Sunland, and it's a golf course community, and buku money, expensive houses. And they have an association, so I put my flyer and cards there with the association to promote it. And then I also put an ad up with Craigslist, which was free, because a lot of the guys were telling me, don't go with Angie's List, don't go with Home Advisor. It costs, and you really don't get that much business out of it. So I put my ad up there with it, and haven't gotten any hits on it yet, but it hasn't even been a week. So I'm hopeful about that, and I'm also directing them to my regular website that I have. So we're coming into spring, and people are looking out and seeing how their place has gone to the dumps during the winter. Maybe they didn't clean it up during the fall, and so it's looking bad. They know they need to bring it up to speed. So this is the time to pick up business. Let's see, what else? More business. Okay. Real quickly, I'll go into, I'm still in depression. I get by, but there's mornings I can't hardly get out of bed, which is most mornings. I have to make sure I've got something planned for the day, either working or going to the gym or something that pulls me out of bed. That's where a pussycat would help. The two things that really are my passions right now that I'm following are my weightlifting, the gym, and gardening. Since there's not much work, the gym is my big thing, and I'm really pushing in there. And so there's that. Let's see. What else? Yeah, the involvement thing. I have music, I have sports, I have my jewelry making, all of that, and I can't really get into it. I have a book that I've been writing for how many years, and I know it's there, and I just get by, and that just kind of adds to the depression that I'm not doing things. So I would like to move into an area where I can hopefully be more involved with things that I do like. People say, oh, you have depression. Well, you should do things you like to do. I said, I would love to. You've obviously never had depression. Um, so, um, okay. Talking about the passions of the gym and working. Um, I push too hard. It's something that keeps my mind off of other things, and so I push too hard. And the last 4 days, I was just in horrible pain in my low back, both my knees and my elbows really hurting. And I hadn't been there in a while, so I went in, and sure enough, the low back had been strained. The knees and the elbows were out. Some of the cranial stuff, the neck. And he told me, lay off for, he'll see me on Monday. He saw me yesterday, which was Thursday, and he says, lay off until you see me on Monday. I thought, okay. So that's going to be hard. I'm still hurting today, so it's easier to not go out and try something. Plus the weather's real bad. I was going to a mental health clinic over in another county, and it was way far away for me, a long drive. But it's not a free clinic, but a sliding scale and POFOC. And I was seeing a nurse practitioner who does medication, and in an attempt to bring my depression up, she put me on lithium, which is kind of a dangerous drug. It really is. It has a bad reputation. And she was testing me every 2 weeks because you had to be up to a minimum. You had to be a certain range for it to really work. And my minimum kept staying down, so she kept upping it. And I started having tremors, severe tremors. Started with just the hands. Couldn't type on the keyboard, couldn't do the mouse because my hands were doing this shot. And then little by little it started, I had it all the time. I tried to pick something up and it was gone, and couldn't do a piece of paper, and then it was started, the whole body was doing it. So I told her, I says, I think it's the lithium. And I talked to my regular physician. I says, I think it's the lithium. So I started decreasing it on my own. I knew what to do, and I decreased it, and the tremors are gone, thank goodness. About 6 weeks ago, for years, I have had dizzy problems, dizzy spells. Just out of the blue, I can be sitting, I can be standing, I can be walking, and all at once I just get severely dizzy to the point that I have to cover my eyes up, sit or lie down, and block out as much sound and whatever is possible, light. And they last for about 3-4 hours. And about 6 weeks ago, over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I had 4 days in a row I had these things. And on Tuesday, I was supposed to go to another mental health clinic. And I was almost all the way over there, and I was going to stop somewhere for breakfast. And as I was driving, I felt it coming on. I literally couldn't see. I was going up over curbs. Fortunately, I didn't hit anyone. I should have stopped, and I didn't. I wanted to get to the restaurant where I felt safe. And I got a ride over to the hospital, and I was in there 7.5 hours, and then they dealt with me for 3 hours, and they did CT scans and all the other stuff, and because they thought it might be a stroke. And what they came up with is, and then they sent me to my regular physician the next day, and as usual, it subsided after about 3-4 hours, but it also stirred up the tremors really bad. At one point, typical me, they had me in a wheelchair because they had me in a wheelchair, and I couldn't see. I was so tired of sitting in that wheelchair and I could hear the TV blaring in the reception room, people talking on their cell phones, babies screaming. It was horrible. And at one point, I started trying to get up out of the chair, and I was going to leave. Now I didn't have my truck. My truck was somewhere else. My truck was still at the restaurant because I couldn't drive. Someone else took me to the hospital. So I couldn't have driven home if I'd wanted to. And someone there went over to the nurse and says, you need to come over here. He's trying to get up and walk. So she came over and she says, what are you doing? And I says, I'm leaving. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going home. She says, you can't see, and so you can't drive, plus you don't have a truck. I want to go home. I'm leaving. So they then wheeled me over to the nurse's station so they could keep an eye on me. I'm not surprised they would have tied a rope to me to the door so I couldn't get out. That's me. That is me. You gotta have some funny in there. So the doctor set me up. So when I went to my regular physician the next day, she and the ER doctor kind of supposed that what I was having was called ocular migraines. Oh, let's go back to the CT scan. It showed that there really wasn't a stroke. There was no problem there. And what they suspected is something called ocular migraine. Never heard of it. It's a migraine minus the headache. Those of you that have ever had a migraine know, your vision goes bad. It's, the headache's horrible. You're throwing up. So I've been having these for years, plus I had migraines. And all I thought was I'm dizzy. And but the fact that I was having so many of them, I ended up having 6 of them in 4 weeks. And so they set me up with a neurologist, but because I had been shifted to Medicaid now, I can't go to him because he doesn't accept Medicaid. So now we're in the process of finding me another neurologist. But it was also the tremors they were worried about. So I'm looking for someone there. I'm also in the process of trying to find a doctor who can monitor my hormones for the testosterone and all of the physical things that are affected by it, like the liver. My doctor told me, she says, I have other transgender patients. They're all women, but she says, I don't have the skill or experience to monitor the hormones. So she said, you need to find either an endocrinologist or someone who can. So right now I'm in the process of talking with Ingersoll, which is the gender center in Seattle, and they're trying to find someone for me. There really is no one locally. I'm going to have to go to Seattle or something like that. So there again, someone that will take Medicaid. So doing that. Oh, the house did sell. I don't know if I made this before the house sold. The last one before it sold, but it sold. And the final was in about the middle of November. And so that's all done. And finally, the sad news on that is the people that bought it live in California, and they didn't move up. The house is sitting there, vacant. They've got the electricity going, but to keep it so it didn't freeze, the pipes didn't freeze, but they're not here. The next door neighbors are watching it for us because where we live is out in the boonies, and you always worry about people coming in and squatting, living there and breaking windows, living in there since there's heat, and the refrigerator's running, the water's running. And that makes me really sad. Every now and then I'll go over there, and I've had to quit doing that because I go over there and I feel so sad. I'll sit there, I feel sad that this house is just sitting there. No one's loving it. And I look at the mountains and sit out there. I'll go out there sometimes at night and listen to the frogs, be able to see the stars because it's dark, because here in town where I'm living now, there's too much light, and so I can't see the stars. So that's that. Um, I don't know what else to talk about at this point. I'm doing taxes right now where there's way more involved this year because of the sale of the house and various things. So, but I got lots of free time, so I'm working on that. And I can't really think of anything else to say. I will after I turn this off, as all of you know. Um, so I'll sometime in the future I will make another one of these, and I will see you at that time.